Hey, what's up? It's Michael. Lately, I've been talking about drug abuse, especially fentanyl blues. Fentanyl as a whole is a pretty bad drug. Uh, I suppose, from what I read, states developed it back in 1959. It started out being just a patch, and the patch was put on anywhere in your body that you had extreme pain or um, what do they refer that to? Chronic pain. You know, what I mean, I've had chronic pain a lot of my adult life because of my back problem, and at one time I truly need to get surgery. At least I thought, and they blew me off and decided that they didn't need to give it to me, and that was all because of workman's comp. But that's okay. Thankfully, I'm glad they didn't do the surgery because they really haven't perfected, in my opinion, any kind of back surgeries that they experiment with. And I know a lot of people who have had good and bad, mostly bad. Some people have had successful surgeries. I dated somebody one time that had a couple vertebrae that were fused, so she couldn't bend in certain positions, I suppose. Uh, anyways, but I'm just what I'm telling you is that this particular drug, fentanyl, is very addictive. It is 100% more powerful than morphine itself, and morphine is a popular drug that they give out in hospitals and stuff like that for pain, chronic pain, just to get you settled down and get you feeling well. Um, I've never really had an experience with morphine where I was actually like high that I can remember. In fact, it helped me get off Oxycontins because I was stuck on Oxycontins for a minute because I was in a treatment center getting treatment for my condition, and that's because I got ran over by a car or dragged for 2 miles and left for dead by a woman who was drinking, and it was partially my fault too because I was just crossing the street and there was no crosswalk, and of course I've done that my whole life. Uh, but this time I made a mistake. I didn't see her coming. So, anyways, the problem with that is it lasts, almost 3 years of my life. I've been dealing with this chronic pain. As you can see, this is not a normal seat. I roll back and forth. This is a wheelchair. Now, can I stand and all that? Yeah, I can. I haven't really shared any of my X-rays or CTs on YouTube or anything like that. And if people friend me and stuff, get to talking about my situation on like Facebook or whatever, I always share my story and my CT scans, my X-rays, where I'm at, what I've been doing. It really helps actually because there's a lot of people on what I call fake book, and since they're on fake book, they just want to be, they're not real people. They clone people's identities. They take their pictures even, they pretend to be them, and they try to scam you for money or your information so they can create accounts in your name, all kinds of stuff. So I'm pretty hip to it, and I deal with it a lot. I vet people very well in the beginning. Some people can hide it pretty good at first, but the ones that hide it very well are always shoot themselves in the foot because they can't wait to just ask you for something that you don't have, and you've already explained to them, look, I don't have any money. I haven't had a job in almost 2.5 years because of the pandemic, because of my drug addiction, because of losing my place to live, all that. I tell them all the truth, and they just go by, well, honey, can you please send me $25? I'm starving, all this other stuff. But so be careful on social media. And I do adore and appreciate all my friends right now. I got a lot of support yesterday when I found out some bad news. Apparently they're going to they're not going to do it until I give them the okay. But I was told that I'm going to need a partial knee replacement in my left knee. Now, what upsets me about that is during that conversation, he also explained that this could have been avoided August of last year when they found the fracture in that knee, which wasn't obvious to them when they did the surgery the first time. So, had they healed that at that time, I wouldn't need a knee replacement. My leg would be fine, I'd be walking fine, everything would be good. But I can't fully extend it. It's kind of odd. I need to warm up really good before I can get a good walk or whatever in me. I won't know how bad it really is until my right leg gets repaired on September 15th. I should be back on my feet by November 1st. It gave me like 4 to 6 weeks to heal up from that, which is cool, but that's significantly less than what it would take for a knee replacement. that partial knee replacement will be 4 to 6 months, and I'm really sad about that. I mean, I literally was in tears yesterday. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I've been dealing with this situation for almost 3 years. You know, over some poor choices I made, over people just not giving a shit about my situation. We're more upset about just trivial stuff, just everyday life stuff, than they were about my condition or whether I was okay or whether I was doing okay. And I understand that. You know, looking at other people's perspective is like, you know, it's not easy for somebody to do, but it's really important that we do that, because if we don't, we'll have trouble understanding each other, right? And even when there's not a lot of communication between one person or the other, you can look at their lifestyle, look at the way they live, understand their demeanor, you know, their personal values, all the other stuff, and pretty much get a hint as to why they are either treating you like shit or treating you like a king. Either way, you'll understand why it is. And it's very important for me. I mean, you may say, well, I don't give a shit, but you know, reality is you do. You do give a shit. The problem is that maybe you don't know who you are inside. I spoke to somebody yesterday who was, you know, upset at me because I was talking to so many people on Facebook and other media outlets, and this all started because I'm trying to start the platform Let's Start Something. Now, you probably heard me say that, or maybe not. This might be brand new to you. The reality of it is, what I'm trying to do is help my community. I'm not really concerned about myself. I'm in a good place, both spiritually, mentally, and about that much physically. I really miss being able to run, work out, do the things that I love to do, which took a back seat to, you know, I just need to take care of my girlfriend, my kids, my other stuff, and that's okay, because you know they were more important. But you know, shit happens. You make poor choices in life, which I did, and I pushed them away because of that, not because of anything else. They didn't understand what my emotional problems were or what I was going through, because I never spoke to anybody about it. Not because I'm too proud or whatever, I was just too ignorant. I didn't really understand why I was feeling the way I was feeling, why things were going the way they were, but I definitely learned my lesson. You thought this would have happened a long time ago, but in reality, you know, I don't like drugs. What I mean by that is that I don't like the outcome. You know, it's always the same. For drug addicts, it's never, hey, it's just the weekend or every other week. You know, it may start like that in the beginning, like years ago, but for me, when I start and I know I'm in my addiction, right, I go until the wheels fall off or the cuffs come on. There is no in between. Fortunately for me, I was able to skip and stay out of trouble this time, and because I was just homeless and I was focused, and maybe it's because I never looked like I was a dope fiend. I never acted like I was a dope fiend, because I'm a grown-ass man and I know how to take care of myself. I'm a good hustler as well. So most of the time, if they had it coming, they didn't see it coming, and that's just the way it was. So fortunately, that was for me this time, and I was smart enough to just stay away from certain situations and certain people and all that, because I've done 13 years in the Arizona Department of Corrections. I'm not going back to prison if I can help it. But I wasn't trying to quit, I'll tell you that right now. It wasn't until this last time, right? I've had like 3 different surgeries on my right leg. I got 4 surgeries eventually. And it wasn't until that very last time where I'm sitting in somebody else's tent who has disappeared for 2 days, right, out there on the streets. And for 2 days, I couldn't even move. My leg felt just like it did right after the accident, and I couldn't even stand up, nothing. On that morning, a cop came and said, hey, you need to get out of here. We're going to freaking raid this place or whatever we're going to do sometime today. If you're not here, you're going to be a part of it. And if you're here, you're going to be a part of it. I'm like, okay. So I just laid there for a minute and sucked it up. I grabbed a folding chair, like a steel chair, right? And I used it to walk about maybe 70 yards to the Circle K on the corner. And I'm kind of like using it as a crutch, and I'm in a shitload of pain. And I get to the front of the Circle K, I just unfold the chair, I sit down, and I'm asking people as they're going in, can you please get me something to drink? Within a matter of 15, 20 minutes, the cops show up. Certain parts of the city, there's no more, hey, get out of here, we don't want you here. It's automatic cop call. And the cops come and they're pissed because they deal with this crap all the time. So much that this dude that showed up was starting to be a dick to me. He's like, Mr. Merriman, he's looking at my rap sheet, which is ridiculous. And he's going, Mr. Merriman, you can't tell me that you haven't had a chance. You can't tell me that nobody's tried to help you. You can't tell me you need to sit. And I said, that has nothing to do with anything. And personally, it's none of your business. I need you to do me a favor. And he goes, what's that? I need you to call the paramedics because I'm in serious pain. Now, I had sores all over my body. You know, I knew what they were. There was kind of like staph or whatever. It was bad, right? And what can I do? You know what I mean? To try to keep them clean as much as I did. That's what I did. I even had a really bad outbreak on my face, and I just kept it covered up. Thankfully, it just healed on its own. I might have a little gnarly scar from one, but that's about it. And so anyways, at that time, he's like, you know what? You're not just going to escape this situation because you need the paramedics. And I'm like, I'm not trying to escape anything. The reason I'm sitting out here is hoping that you guys would show up so you could call the paramedics for me because I don't have a phone or anything, and there's no way Sherwood Brigade's going to let me use their phone, right? And this is the truth. This is what all was in my head. I knew what to do because I've been through this before. I've actually had the paramedics pick me up at a QT that I asked the QT to call for me to take me in when I had a really bad infection in my the back of my left leg, and it was kind of gnarly, but I made out of the hospital like 3 days later because I was sick, and it was kind of stupid, but thankfully I was able to skirt the infection and it got better within a couple weeks. But I wasn't trying to heal. I was just so much pain and needed help. I wanted to know what was going on. It was kind of scary, actually, but I got better. So, but anyways, going back to that guy was just freaking berating me and talking all kinds of shit. You know, cops are, you know, good cops just show up and they want to do their job, right? They just, what are you doing, Mr. Merriman? Are you okay, Mr. Merriman? Do you need any help? It looks to me that you're in bad shape. Are you homeless? Yes, I am. Yes, I am homeless. Yes, I am sick. Yes, I am a dopey. And all this thing. I'm not going to lie about any of that stuff. What's the point? They're going to look at you like, really? I mean, we have training for this, and plus we see it every day, you know. You're just going to look into them in the eye and just lie to them, right? And look at all my tattoos, you know, I'm a convict. But there's no way they're going to take just my words for it, you know. They're going to figure things out. But fortunately, I've met a lot of good cops, and fortunately, I've met a lot of bad cops. But this situation, this guy was just talking shit. I was so, like, dude, I don't want to hear your shit right now. I'm in a lot of pain. But anyways, so paramedics come, and the other cop that told me to leave earlier that morning from the tent showed up. He said, if they don't take you right now, I'm going to give you a ticket for each one of those baskets. And I'm like, are you serious? You're going to give a homeless man with no money and strung out tickets that he can't pay for and go down to court? It's like the dumbest thing. I can't believe this cop was telling me that. Anyways, he was just, they were both assholes, you know. So I went to the hospital that day. And on that day, about 3 hours after being in the hospital, of course I'm dope sick. They gave me this little blue sock looking thing to puke in because I can't even get up to puke. I just have to turn my head, you know, it's all bad. 2 doctors, men, came in with scrubs on. And they looked at me and they said, Mr. Merriman? I said, yes, it's me. And they go, we're going to have to take your leg. And I'm like, you're gonna have to take my leg? And they're like, yeah. But you know, think about it, Mr. Merriman. For 2 years, you've been in and out of hospitals. You've had 2 sets of hardware. You have a huge infection in your leg right now. It's all bad, and it's just gonna spread throughout your body. And it's gonna kill you. And I'm like, okay. I thought about that for a minute, and out of fear and worry and a little bit of doubt, I waited about an hour, 2 hours, and I grabbed the walker that wasn't mine, and I started to get out of there, right? And they said, whoa, where are you going? I'm like, I'm leaving here. Well, you can't leave. You have those IVs in you. Well, get them out of me. You know what I mean? Do what you got to do. Took them out, and I was gone. I made it across the street to the bus stop that was there. I was able to borrow somebody's phone. To be honest, I was even able to hook up penniless with about 2 blues that were garbage, absolute garbage, but it wasn't my area, right? Because I didn't know any of these people. I was just begging. And so I sat there at that bus stop for about 2 or 3 hours in tears going, what the hell am I going to do? You know what I mean? I'm going to lose my leg. here it is. I've been alone for almost 2 years at that time. Yeah, almost 2 years, maybe a little more. And I've been alone, hustling every day to survive: food, drink, clothes, you name it, drugs were all the most important thing every day. And not drugs in general, but like fentanyl blues. Like, look, I've told people before, my thing is methamphetamines. That's the thing I like to do. But that's not how all this started. How this started is that in the beginning, I hooked up with one of my family members, you could say, one of their old connects, and we found each other on Facebook. Hey, what are you doing? Blah, 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 what are you doing? Nobody knew that I was going out there for about 3 or 4 weeks buying 2 pills off them a week, and they would cost me $40. They were $20 a piece. Now, he called them perks and swore they were a real thing. Before I ever had any education on what fentanyl was or fentanyl blues were, I was off doing these pills thinking they were actually legit because I was having a lot of back pain. I just came off 2 different jobs that were fucking gnarly. I worked as a concrete waterproof repair specialist, and there was days where I'd be on that 90-pound jackhammer for 12 hours at a time. I'd come home, I couldn't even literally could not feel my arms until the next morning, and what I felt was just numbness. I never complained. I've always been a hard worker my whole life. I've done everything you possibly imagine. I started off doing warehouse work, assembly lines, just constant hustle for 8 to 12 hours all day, just making sure everything was perfect. I worked at Board and Creamet. I worked at A&B Plastics. I worked at Kraft Foods. I worked at Checker Auto Parts. There was a lot of places I did early on in my life, starting about 14, 15, no, 16, probably 15 or 16, right? So I was working my tail off. And anyways, I ended up being a electrician, a carpenter, a welder, carpet installer. When I went to prison, I signed up to be a wildland fighter. That was probably one of the hardest jobs I've ever done physically, and I was more physical than anybody else on that crew, both 1 and 2, buggy 2. And my sergeant, who was a DOC officer for about 20-25 years, was already past his limit. You're only allowed to be at that position for firefighter 5 years at a time when you're under the when you got a badge, anyways. So that guy always gave me so much shit. He forced me to do push-ups, so I'd do like 20 with my feet up, and I'd go, hey, you need 30, 50, 60 more? It really pissed him off. But I was just, in good shape and a good mind, and I worked on it every day. Some of these guys were just doing it for pay, some of these guys were doing it for food, some of these guys were doing it just to get off the yard. Me, I was doing it because I saw a future in it, and what I saw was shit on that fucking crew. They treated people like crap. There was just one black guy, they always made him feel inferior, the guy would cry and stuff. But anyways, I ended up losing that job because one morning I got up. Every morning you got to get up at 5, right? And you got to go eat your lunch, your breakfast, right? And then you're waiting to be called out the gate. Now, I went back home knowing that it was going to be about 30 minutes. I laid down, I fell asleep. So rather than your crew is supposed to look out for you. They're supposed to come grab you. Sorry about that helicopter. They're supposed to come grab you and, make sure you're all right and bring you up front so you don't lose your job. So, it's kind of like, it's an honor thing. You're supposed to respect and honor your peers. Well, it didn't happen that day, and so I lost my job. Even my other crew boss thought it was bullshit. He came to me at the fence that day and said, this is fucked up. I said, I know it is. And he goes, you're the best, if not one of the best rookies we've ever had on this crew. And I'm like, I get that. I'm sorry for what happened. What can I do? And he says, Sergeant Bercher, he's not going to let it happen. That dude's a real piece of work anyways, for lack of a better definition. But so just talking about that is just a small glimpse in my work history. I was a welder for the city of Somerton in Yuma. The city of Somerton, I was the welder for the whole city. We're talking about dump trucks, we're talking about trash cans, we're talking about trailers. I built a trailer for them. I even had cops and other individuals coming to me on the side. Can you fix this? Can you do that? Hooking me up with, a little bit of Jack in the Box and stuff like that. So, yeah, man, I was doing the thing for almost almost 3 years, and it was a good job. And then some guy who was supposed to be my friend ended up being the whistleblower because he was jealous. I was 2 months out from going home, and I had a barrel full of laptops, jewelry, brand new cell phones, all kinds of stuff, because I worked where I did my job. I had my own little spot about as big as this right here, right? And I had my welding table, all my tools. I had a trailer, I had a Connex behind me, I had everything I needed in it. And and the boss is a civilian, right? And we have one cop that looks over the place, but he doesn't hang out there. He's got all these other crews he's got to pay attention to in that area. So he's never just hanging out there. So I was able to do whatever I wanted when I wanted to most of the part. And, I wasn't getting high. I wasn't doing anything wrong other than, I'm not supposed to have this stuff, but it wasn't on my person. I got to the point where I put that wheelbarrow on the back of my boss's truck and kept it there for safety because, they don't think, why would they think that, something would be stashed there? Well, somebody was so jealous that they told on me, and they came in and did a search on the whole place, and they asked my boss, hey, what's this? He goes, that's my stuff. He took responsibility for it. And so since they couldn't catch me doing anything, all it was hearsay, he took me off the job. I was so pissed. I had plans to bring jewelry and phones to my girlfriend and my kids. I just wanted to give back what might have been taken from me in the last 5 years that I was spending in prison. I was so fucking pissed. Anyways, I ended up working for the Yuma Golf Course, and I ended up learning about that. So I was taking care of golf courses, and people who actually get paid and go to university or whatever to do that make a shitload of money. And I just so happened to do it because I was a convict, and we had contracts with us, so it was all good. But I'm coming up on 22 minutes right now.